the function y equals f of x is transformed into y equals 2f of 3 x plus 1 minus 4. List the transformations that have occurred in order. So first of all, let's just start listing the transformations and then we'll focus on ordering them. So this first one, this 2, what does that mean? Well, it's a multiplication, which means that it is a stretch. So first of all, we have a stretch. It is outside the function, so it is in the y direction. And because it's in the y direction, it is what we expect it to be, so the factor here is 2. So that's this first one. This 2 is telling us this. Now let's have a look at this 3 and what this 3 tells us. So the 3 tells us that, again, it's a multiplication, so it's going to be a stretch. Because it's inside the function this time, it's in the x direction. And whenever it is inside the function, it's in the x direction, it's the opposite to what we think. So it's not a factor of 3, it's a factor of 1/3. Okay, so that is the second transformation. We then have this plus 1 here. What does that plus 1 tell us? Well, that plus 1 tells us that we are dealing with a translation because it's an addition. So it's a translation. It's in the x direction because it is inside the function. And when it's inside the function, it is opposite to what we think, so it's by -1. The final one that we need to look at is that -4 at the end. Oh, that changed color. I didn't want that to change color. Let me put that one back to green. There we go. Now I'm going to do the final one, the -4. The -4, because it's a minus, is a translation. It is outside the function, so it is in the y direction. And because it's outside, it is how we expect it to be, so it is by -4. Now let's think about the order. We've got those 4 transformations listed. What order are they happening? Now, outside the brackets means everything happens as we expect it to. So that is, we expect multiplications to happen before additions. So stretches do indeed come before translations. So the red does come before the orange. Perfect. Inside the brackets, things happen the wrong way around to what we expect. So we expect this to be, well, because of these brackets, we expect the +1 to happen first. We expect the translation to happen first. We might think that that translation has to come before that stretch. But because we're inside the brackets, everything happens the wrong way around. So what this actually means is, no, the +1 doesn't happen first. The stretch happens first. So the stretch happens before the translation in both the vertical and the horizontal cases. Now, but what about the horizontal and vertical? Does it matter which order they happen? Well, actually, no. Doing anything in the horizontal direction does not affect anything that happens in the vertical direction. So what we have written here would be correct. It's an absolutely correct way of writing this out. We could also have swapped these two around. That would also be correct because the stretches are happening before the translations. We could also have done something like this, where the horizontal stretch happens before the horizontal translation and the vertical stretch happens before the vertical translation. That would also be correct. Or we could switch both of these pairs so that the vertical stuff happens before the horizontal stuff. That would also be fine. Now, generally speaking, we don't write translations like this. We write translations as vectors. So probably a slightly better way of writing this, instead of writing it with these two here, would be to write it as our 2 stretches, and then a third thing, which would be a translation by vector, and then give the vector, and the vector in this case would be it's in the x direction by -1 and the y direction by -4. So that would probably be the preferred final answer for this, but the blue and the red lines could go the other way around. That would be absolutely fine. The key thing to remember, or a couple of key things to remember, first of all, transformations in the x direction don't affect transformations in the y direction and vice versa. So you can swap those around as long as within a direction they're in the right order. Second thing is that very important key fact, outside the function, as you would expect, multiplication before addition, inside the brackets, inside the function, the opposite to what you expect. So in this case, because it's got those brackets, we'd expect the addition to happen first, but it doesn't.